Seeing that Mother's Day was coming up soon, I decided to do a little set for Mother's Day. And here I'm showing how I did the little candles. They're just little mini candles. They last in total, if you let them burn for about 2 hours at a time, which is recommended, for about 8 to 10 hours, 2 hours at a time. They are tiny little containers, but they're so cute. So I actually made those containers myself. I have the molds and I made the little containers, and I have sealed them with heat resistant varnish, and I was ready then to make my candles. I am using soya wax here. I was going to do a yellow and a green so that it matched the little containers. I did do 4 containers, but I only used the two middle ones that you can see there. So in my little urn that I've got 2 different amounts, because the one container is bigger. The one green container on the left hand side is bigger than the 2 smaller ones. So the one lot of wax is more than the other. So I'm doing the yellow ones first, because obviously that wax will melt quicker than the green that I'm going to do. So you can see here now I'm adding the yellow coloring. I have to obviously get it to the correct temperature to add the fragrance. So I have put the color in first and just getting it mixed nicely in, and then waiting for it to get to the correct temperature for for adding the fragrance. Once that's done, you obviously have to mix it for a good couple of minutes to ensure that the fragrance is mixed nicely into the wax. So here it's reached the correct temperature to add my fragrance. And this one I was using a Tutti Frutti fragrance. It's really nice. It's a sweet fragrance, but it's really nice. Here I'm using my syringe just to measure out the correct amount of fragrance to put into that amount of wax. Here again, like I said, you have to give it a good stirring just to make sure that the fragrance gets mixed nicely into your wax. It gives it a nice throw. So here I'm also just checking the temperature. I've got to obviously get it down now from the temperature that you use to add the fragrance down to the pouring temperature. This is a new soy wax that I've just got. So I am testing the actual throw temperature. I had to put it back in again because my usual story, I forgot to put the wicks in. So I've just put it back onto the heat on my little well, you can call it a double boiler. It is a double boiler, but it's a mini urn. So I've just put it back in there so that it stays at a decent temperature while I'm putting the wicks into the little bowls. My little sticky pads, if you want to call them that, are really big. When I ordered them, I didn't realize they were the big ones. So unfortunately, what I do is I cut them into quarters, and I use a quarter under each of my wick bases. I suppose it also makes them go a bit further. It just takes a little bit of extra time just to cut them into quarters, but I mean it doesn't take that long. And there I made a slight mistake. It was slightly to the back of the container. So unfortunately, if you do that, you get an uneven burn. So I had to make sure that it was perfectly in the middle. Yeah, so here now I am just going to pour the wax. And I have a ratio that I use to make sure that the amount of wax and the amount of fragrance works out exactly right to the size of the actual containers. It seems to work perfectly fine. So I've actually got those all written down. So all my molds that I have, that I use for my little candle holders, containers, jars, whatever you want to call them, I have them all written down so that I know exactly how much dry weight of wax to use and how many milliliters of the fragrance to use, and it literally works out perfectly every time. So now here I'm going to be doing the green. I didn't want them too dark. I wanted them quite light. I could have made them darker, but I actually wanted them a bit lighter because, as you'll see at the end of the video, the turquoise green and the yellow, there are places that when I did the molds, there's quite bright colors on there. So I wanted the candles just to be more of a subtle color than a dark color. So here I am just adding the color and the fragrance to the wax that I'm going to be doing the green candles. The green candle, I've got a taller jar, like I said before. So that does obviously takes more wax. So there is a little bit more fragrance in this one as well, because obviously the ratio, you have to do between 6 and 10% fragrance. I think I was doing an 8% on these. So that's the ratio that I was using for the fragrance. And now putting in my wicks into the turquoise one and into the taller green jar. The little wick holders, if you would like to call them that little circle, are printed out on my 3D printer, and the wick holders are printed out on my 3D printer. It's so handy having that, because I suppose you could use a lollipop stick or something like that and drill a hole in it, but I just found I've got the 3D printer, I might as well use it, and it really does make nice wick holders, just so that you can keep them perfectly in the middle while the candles are cooling down and setting. Right, so there we go. That is the green that is being thrown now, or poured. So some people use different words. Pouring, throwing, not that you're throwing it, but pouring it. And there we go. I will leave those now to cool down. This is just a time lapse of them cooling down. You can see how the colors changing, and you can see it is a little bit more obvious in real life, the difference between the yellow and the green. It is a bit difficult to see the difference with the lighting, but the colors were subtle, so they looked really pretty. Now here I am making the little flowers that are going to go through the wick on top of the candles. It's just something simple but pretty to put on top of the actual candles. And here I'm doing the base or bottom edges in the green, and then I'm going to fill up the top section, or the bottom when you're looking at it from the top, in yellow. I only used these for the one set of candles. I did do another color but I just thought I would film doing the green with the yellow and show you how they came out. I actually have a whole box of pre-made flowers and leaves and all different types of things, stuff, ocean shells and that sort of thing. So then at least I have a choice when I'm making the candles. I can just go into the box and see if there's anything that I can use. Otherwise, obviously, I'll make new ones that will match the colors of the candles or the molds that I've made. Yeah, so I do have quite a few that are pre-made already that I can use. But this I did use on the one candle. I think I used, I can't remember now. But yeah, so then this is just unmolding it from the silicone mold. I do have quite a lot of silicone molds, all the different designs and things. I mean, I would love more, but I do have quite a few of them. There you can see how pretty the little flower looks. And that will go on top of the candle through the actual wick, just to make it a little bit prettier. Right, so now here you can see I used the one second on the left. That was the yellow and the green that I have just shown how I made it. The others were others that were pre-done that I had that matched the colors of the actual containers and the candles, and obviously put some melted candle wax on top and just slide the flower over the wick and let them set. So basically that is just a nice little finish to the candles rather than them just being plain candles. I thought it would be quite pretty just to have the flowers on them. Like I did say, the two in the middle I used with a mold of a little watering can that I have, and I planted a little succulent in the watering can. I made a tray also from a mold that I have, and basically made up little sets for the Mother's Day. I just did the two for this video. I have other designs that I can also use to plant little succulents in, but these two I thought were quite sweet to go together. So there we go. These are the little flowers in the containers. I think they look really cute, and you can see that the molds and the candle holders that I made are finished off with the outside is a polyurethane varnish, and then the inside is the heat resistant varnish. This just so that the candle burns nicely on the inside of the jars. So there we go. Those look very sweet and they're nice and shiny, all ready to be put together on their little trays with the succulents that are inside the watering cans. So those are the four, and these are just individual pictures of the two different colors. Like I said, these are the ones that I used on the trays. They really did come out nicely, as I did say before. And then on the trays, I did the watering cans. The watering cans are sitting on a little saucer that I also did. I have a mold for. They have the desert roses that I planted in them, and a couple of pretty bees and flowers that are also on the tray. And I think those came out really nicely, especially for a Mother's Day. So guys, thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you could please like and subscribe, I would really appreciate it. So until next time, have a great one.